Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey folks, today's Friday, October 3rd, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The Feds, National Guard, they are in Memphis, and then white supremacist Stephen Miller stood before the cameras and told cops, y'all can do whatever y'all want. Y'all are unleashed on Memphis. We'll talk with State Representative Justin Pearson about the actions taking place in Memphis. Nevada Congressman Steven Horsford joins us as the federal government shutdown continues. Republicans are hoping that Democrats are going to blink and buckle, but they also are scared because Donald Trump has fully embraced Project 2025. We knew he was lying during the campaign when he said he didn't even know what it was. Also, on today's show, we'll be joined by the Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, to talk about his race and why he wants to be the next mayor of New York and what he will say to Black New Yorkers. Morgan Harper will talk September jobs report that didn't get released because Trump don't want it released. They're trying to blame the shutdown. Also, John Boy, the National Black Farmers Association, joins us. All these white farmers are crying, oh my God, we need some help. Donald Trump and Republicans are potentially putting together a $50 billion welfare package for these mostly white farmers. Y'all, it's a lot we go cover. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funky.
Donald Trump's federal takeover of American cities continues, this time Memphis. The so-called Memphis Safe Task Force says they've made 93 arrests so far, taking 28 guns off of the streets. Attorney General Pam Bondi claims in a big win, saying they're locking up dangerous offenders. The heavy federal law enforcement, aided by National Guard troops, is specifically hitting black and brown neighborhoods the hardest, sparking real concerns about racial profiling. Activists say the heavy law enforcement is not effectively at all curbing crimes. Joining us right now is State Representative Justin Pearson. Glad to have you on the show. Y'all have been monitoring what's going on. Give us a sense of what's happening there on the ground.
Look, we are dealing with a federal occupation of our community that is unwanted by the people who live here, by our community members who want to see investment from the federal government, not wanting to see a military occupation of our community. A lot of people are terrified. A lot of students aren't going to school. A lot of parents aren't allowing their kids to go. And I think we're also going to see an economic effect. Not a lot of people are going into our businesses downtown. And this narrative of black criminality is what they're being and what they're pushing. We even had a white nationalist, Stephen Miller, here just a couple of days ago with Pam Bondi and P. Hegseth alongside our Governor Bill Lee. We know what this is about. It has nothing to do with crime. It has everything to do with control of our community. And we don't want military occupation. What we want is poverty eradication. What we want is the beauty and the belovedness of our city to be shown, not the mythology and the pain that they're exacting upon us.
And to that point, I mean, the reason he's doing this because the Republican Governor Bill Lee is allowing him to do so. We're going to play the clip in a second. You had that white supremacist Stephen Miller there in Memphis who literally said to the cops, "You are now unleashed." Right. I mean, and so we're talking about the same police force that we saw a significant death of Tyree Nichols. We see how Donald Trump has no issue pardoning cops who beat and kill people. So this right here is a major, major issue when they come in and say, "Oh, we're going to let you do whatever you want to do."
I mean, it's 100% true. We had Tyree Nichols killed by Memphis police officers 2 years ago. Our relationship with law enforcement isn't always a good one, particularly when you're thinking about black and brown communities. Oftentimes, it's not a good one, and our communities suffer from these interactions that don't have to happen. And so when you have state troopers being sent by Governor Bill Lee that is intended to increase the amount of stops that are happening on the highways, the amount of stops that are happening on the roads, you have to realize those interactions don't always end good. We think about Tyree. We think about Sandra Bland. What was a routine traffic stop ends up in someone losing their life. A traffic stop for people who are black and brown in this country is not the same as a stop for somebody who is white. In addition to this, right, we did not enter into a consent decree with the Department of Justice after the findings of pattern and practice showed that the Memphis Police Department historically targeted poor, lower income communities. We have so many deficiencies already as it relates to our law enforcement. So now to have the federal government coming in and taking over, in essence, law enforcement responsibilities, giving arrests, ensuring that people are going to have these court dates, hurting a jail system that's already strangulated by the lack of resources at 201 Poplar, is creating more problems than solving it. And again, if people really think this administration cared anything about crime, why did all of the January 6ers get pardoned? Right, the president of the United States himself is a white supremacist, but he's also a 34-count convicted felon. This has absolutely nothing to do with crime. That is how they are starting the conversation, but we need to realize they are going to be weaponizing the military, weaponizing federal resources during the next elections, during the presidential election, and this is how democracy gets destroyed. This is how fascism and authoritarianism gets normalized. And we, again, just like in the 90s, when we were offered, black communities were offered, you get the crime bill and the 3 strikes law. We're being told, well, we're going to offer you military occupation, but we're never being offered resources to get kids more programming. We're never being offered resources to make sure no one goes to sleep hungry at night. We're never offered resources for affordable housing or health care, actually taking care of our veterans. We're always being deprived of the very things that could prevent crimes from happening in the first place.
Absolutely. And to the point many of us made, okay, let's say this surge lasts for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then a month. Okay, what are you going to do after that? Are they willing to actually pony up the resources that will be needed to not just have a police response, but to deal with the other issues that we know impact and reduce crime?
Root causes is the conversation I find Republicans, conservatives, and people who are wanting to be ignorant about what we are experiencing don't want to talk about. The root causes isn't that people just need more mentors. It's that poverty is the root cause of all crime. I was talking to a group of students today, and when I asked them, what is the root cause of crime? Each and every one of them yelled back, poverty. Because that's the problem. 2/3 of the people who live in Memphis and Shelby County are living underneath the median income. 1 in 3 of our children are going to sleep living underneath the poverty line in our district. Poverty is a crime that is being committed by the federal government, by the state government against the people who live in this community. And in addition to the fact that the economic opportunity is not here, we have had this governor, who has been governor for 7 years now, going on 8 years, refuse to pass or support a single law that would reduce the accessibility of guns in our streets. And so when I have advocated for gun violence prevention laws, such as red flag laws, a waiting period, banning assault weapons, this governor has not used any of his political or social capital to ensure that those bills got passed. He's interested in giving billionaires the ability to send their kid to whatever school they want with private school vouchers, but he is not interested or invested in actually supporting our community. And so the beauty and the joy and the culture and the love that we have here gets harmed by policies and practices of Republican administrations that want to perpetuate, one, a myth of black criminality, but two, create crime by not passing laws that would prevent it from happening in the first place. And then coming back to us and saying, well, here's the only thing that we can do. Over police you. The only thing that we can do is give you a military occupation. Yeah, I know you want violence intervention program money, but we need to cut that. That's what Donald Trump did in this recent bill. But that's not what we're asking for. That's not what we need. We want resources to be able to prevent crimes from happening, to be able to lift people out of poverty, to provide housing and health care, and give everyone access to opportunities that they deserve. But that is not what is being offered. And when that is not happening, we have to ask ourselves why. Why do they want to perpetuate this myth? Why do they want to continue to perpetuate policies that are dangerous and that are harmful towards us? And it is for incarceration. There are these private prisons and all these other things that they're ultimately benefiting from.
So I do get I get a kick out of them talking about and praising guns being taken off the streets, but then they don't want to do anything to take guns off the streets.
It is the most significant irony of this whole thing. They're counting the number of guns they're taking off the streets, but they're not counting how many guns people have gotten access to by the hundreds of bills that they've passed to make it easier for people to access firearms legally and illegally. Now in Tennessee, 18-year-olds can go and buy AR-15s. They have made it 30,000 guns have been stolen from cars since Republicans took the legislature and passed laws that made it so that you could have a firearm, leave your firearm in your car. 30,000 guns have been stolen since then. So they take no accountability for the predicament we find ourselves in. But the only solution that we are given is now we need to over-police you. There's no conversation about the root causes. There's no conversation about the fact that they did this to us.
Well, that is the case. So stay on the case. State Representative Justin Pearson, appreciate it. Good to see you at CBCF ALC this weekend.
Good to see you too. Let's keep fighting.
Yes, sir. Folks, going to a break. We come back. We're going to talk with Congressman Steven Horsford about the government shutdown. We're going to talk about Trump now trying to bail the farmers out with billions of taxpayer money in welfare caused by his tariffs. And also, an alderwoman in Chicago gets arrested for asking ICE in a hospital, do they have a signed warrant? They literally arrest an elected official. We're going to talk about all of that right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Shut Network. Back in a moment.
In my book, The Power to Persist, I share 8 simple yet powerful habits, a blueprint for transforming obstacles into opportunities and pressure into purpose. Just as they fueled my rise from the south side of Chicago to a national stage. And on the Power to Persist podcast, I bring that blueprint to life.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol. We've seen shutdown.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change,
we are talking about our North Star, our luminary, our guide, Assata Shakur, who recently passed away in Cuba. We're going to unpack her legacy.
I refuse to allow Assata's legacy to die before children that aren't even born. Like our babies that aren't even born must know her and must know her. And that roadmap is going to get us closer to liberation.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Lil Thompson with winwithblackmen.org. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, it's day 3 of the government shutdown. Still no deal in sight. Republicans, they say, Democrats, they hope they're going to buckle. Also, Donald Trump, it's amazing. He now acknowledges Project 2025. Remember when he said he knew nothing about it? Joining us right now is Congressman Steven Horsford of Nevada. Congressman, glad to have you here. Republicans have spent a lot of time trying to brand this shutdown. It's been all about the Democrats, but polling data shows that they are the ones who are bearing the brunt of the heat for this shutdown. it's theirs. They have to own it.
100%. The Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They control the votes in determining whether or not their budget could pass. They knew that they did not have the votes. In fact, their own budget got fewer votes than the Democratic alternative when it went to the Senate. I'm starting to think that this is more about Speaker Johnson wanting to protect Donald Trump from the full release of Epstein's files than he is about protecting the American people and our right to affordable health care. Leader Jeffries and House Democrats have called 3 specific things: cancel the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare, lower cost on middle-class families, and save health care. Nothing more, nothing less. And that is what we are fighting for in this moment, not just what we're fighting against.
Also, we talk about fighting in this moment. You're also fighting misinformation. You're fighting people. And again, I'm listening to some of these people. I saw a clip last night. I'm going to play it in a second. Stephen A. Smith was on the SiriusXM radio show talking about how, well, you know, inflation is not as bad as it used to be, and we haven't really feeling it, and how the economy hasn't cratered. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Donald Trump has had 2 consecutive awful months of job growth. Biden and Harris didn't have one in 48 months. You also look at inflation, higher today than it was a year ago, higher than it was last month. Meat prices up. You still talk about a housing issue. So I'm like, what world are you living in?
Well, as you know, I represent Las Vegas, and we are confronted with what's called the Trump slump right now. And since the beginning of this year, tourism has been down double digits. We have seen room occupancy down. We are now seeing an increase in the rate of unemployment, particularly with our hospitality workers. And this isn't only affecting tourism. Because of Donald Trump's trade wars against Canada, it's affecting small businesses. These tariffs, which are taxes that Americans pay, are actually driving up the cost on everything from housing to healthcare, prescription drugs. Now he wants to put 100% tariff on that at a time when families, middle-class families, feel like things are getting harder for them and more expensive. This administration's policies are actually inflicting more pain on the American people. That is why House Democrats have said enough is enough. It's time to lower the cost, cancel the cuts, and save health care.
To that particular point, I was looking at New York Times had a story just yesterday talking about how Vegas has been getting hammered. It said of the 5 million international visitors that come to Las Vegas every year, 1.4 million of those folks are from Canada. And Donald Trump pissed the Canadians off. And so the Canadians said, holla. We're not going to sit here and come to your country. Asian travelers are not coming. So his tariffs and his abrasive, nasty, despicable nature has said to international tourists, you know what? We have options. We don't have to go to Las Vegas or go to Miami or Los Angeles or New York City. And so the travel business have down billions of dollars in 2025. I've seen some estimates may say we may be down some $20 billion this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when Donald Trump refers to Canada as the 51st state and he inflicts trade wars on our most trusted trading partner, Canada, look, Canadians who come to Las Vegas stay longer, they spend more money, and they get out and don't just do things on the Las Vegas Strip. They get out into the other parts of our great state, contributing to our outdoor tourism economy and the small businesses. I want people to know this. We're about to host the HBCU Classic in Las Vegas on October 24th against Grambling State and Jackson State. It's one of the biggest HBCU Classics, and it's going to be played at the Raiders Stadium. So despite Donald Trump's infliction of pain on Nevadans and our tourism economy, we are doing everything that we can, and we're resilient to make sure that people know that they're welcome. In fact, Leader Jeffries just appointed me to be a member on the U.S.-Canadian Interparliamentary Group to help restore some of our relationships with our Canadian partners because of how important their role is. And it's not just to Las Vegas. We're dealing with the fact that the World Cup is coming to the United States. We have the Olympics coming to the United States in 2026, and the 25th anniversary of our nation's founding. So at a time when we should be working on making people feel welcome, the Trump administration is doing everything to make them feel unwelcome. That is why we have to put a check on Donald Trump and these capitulating Republicans in Congress who continue to bend the knee to this tyrant, this person who thinks that he's a king. Well, you're not, Donald Trump. We have a co-equal branch of government. It's called the Congress. You don't get to roll over us, just like you don't get to roll over the American people. And it's time we put a check on Donald Trump.
Real quick, let's go to my panelists for some questions for Congressman Steven Horsford. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney at Corpus Christi. What you got?
My only question, Congressman, is just in terms of what the American people that are not in Vegas might not be seeing. How major are the effects of the Trump tariffs, like you were talking about with Canada and Canadian tourism being down? How major is that felt there in Las Vegas, and what kind of metrics have you seen that show exactly how these policies are ruinous for the American people?
So thank you. So international travel is a third of all travel into Las Vegas, and Canadian travel is a third of the international travel. So we're down over 12% just since the beginning of this year. This didn't happen last year. This isn't a holdover. This is a direct effect of Donald Trump's trade wars with Canada and his tariff policies, which have been erratic. And it's not only on tourism. I represent the rural part of Nevada, and I was out in Pahrump, the rural part, and talking to small business owners, and they also have seen a decline from Canadian travelers into the rural areas. Today, I spent the entire day talking to constituents about the effects of these healthcare cuts that are devastating to our communities in every respect, from rural hospitals to community hospitals to birthing centers and other facilities that are being impacted because of the cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to the enhanced premium tax credits. And that's why Democrats have said, we'll work with you to reopen the government, one that ensures that we save health care and make sure that it remains affordable for the people of Nevada and all over the country.
Joining us right now is Michael Imhotep, host African History Network show out of Detroit. Michael, your question?
On the day, we have seen the Trump administration and Donald Trump withhold $2.1 billion in infrastructure project money for Chicago, $18 billion in transit funding for New York, et cetera. We see them using economic pressure on top of threatening more layoffs. Has there been any talk among your caucus to organize economic boycotts against certain corporations that have financed the Trump administration, have financed Republicans, et cetera, because they're trying to weaken the resistance with economic pressure, and we have to meet that with economic pressure against them as well?
Well, that's a great point. In fact, I was just with the Executive Leadership Council, a council that really focuses on Black voices in corporate America, from the boardrooms to the C-suite. And you're 100% right. We have to continue to apply pressure to fight fire with fire. The fact that Donald Trump and his administration would seek retribution against the American people and American cities because he doesn't like the fact that Congress didn't approve his partisan budget that cuts health care is completely unacceptable. But this is why we have to put a check on this administration. People have been saying, well, why now? Why are Democrats drawing a line in the sand now? He's been dismantling federal agency and defunding programs since the beginning of this administration. In fact, he lied about not knowing anything about Project 2025. Roland Martin and other people tried to remind people that he was the mastermind behind Project 2025. And what did he say yesterday? He's going to put Russell Vought in charge of the implementation of OMB and to make sure that Project 2025 continues. So he lied to us during the campaign. He's lying to us now. And it is time that we make sure that everyone knows you're either with us and the American people, or you're fighting against us and our economic well-being.
All right. Do we have audio? Do a Candace? Okay, so we're going to work through that as well. All right, Congressman Horsford, last point here. I just saw, Speaker Mike Johnson has announced y'all are not going to be in session next week. Didn't y'all just come off like 6-7 weeks? And what the hell? What is he scared of? And I take it he also still hasn't seated the woman from Arizona who won her race. What the hell's happening? Adelita Grijalva. She won her race overwhelmingly. The Republicans who won their special elections were sworn in during pro forma session. He refused to recognize the Democratic leadership when we tried to call for her to be sworn in on Tuesday. And you're 100% right. Speaker Johnson canceled votes on Monday and Tuesday of this week, leading up to this shutdown deadline on midnight. He's on vacation. He's AWOL. Meanwhile, House Democrats have been here ready to work and ready to reopen the government while protecting health care. But I also want to just say, I think this is more about Speaker Johnson protecting Donald Trump from the full release of the Epstein files, because Representative Grijalva, when she's sworn in, which she will be the 218th signature on the discharge petition for the full release of the Epstein files. So what are you hiding, Speaker Johnson? Bring us back into session. Allow Democrats to do our job, or get the hell out of the way if you won't do your job. Congressman Steven Horsford, we surely appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks, Roland.
All right, Frat. Folks, going to a break. We come back. Zohran Mamdani is leading the polls to be the next mayor of New York City. Man, you got some Democrats not happy. You got some Republicans who are ticked off. Well, you're going to hear directly from him about his policies for Black New Yorkers right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible to do the work that we do, y'all, which nobody else is doing. When you talk about this daily news show every single day we are here. But this show, but the other shows on the Black Star Network, we're launching a daily midday news show next month. We got another weekly show coming. Yo, we got lots of things happening, and so your support is critically important. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see the code right there on the bottom left-hand corner. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, we talk about the principles of mindset, strategy, and execution. This week, we're adding a fourth, faith. You're going to hear from a mother and daughter duo who are helping thousands of Black women build wealth, all through their faith.
You are more than you can ever imagine. Not just obtaining things to show that, but seeing yourself.
Making your faith work for you. That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life, parents, teachers, students, administrators, oh my, are you putting in the work, seeking to be a teacher,
an associate principal, a principal, trying to elevate who you are and where you're going.
Our world is changing. For veteran teachers, we have to be able to usher in students into a ever-changing, ever-evolving world.
If we have this triangular effect, we will create a successful student who will be able to just thrive wherever and in any situation that they're placed in.
Join us this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jamia Pugh. I am from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, just an hour right outside of Philadelphia.
My name is Jasmine Pugh. I'm also from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
First Friday of the month, we normally have jobs numbers, but all of a sudden, with Donald Trump in the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we don't have any. Now, they're blaming the government shutdown. We all know that's bullshit. It's really because they know it would be a third consecutive horrible month. Morgan Harper joins us right now. Glad to have you here. Talk about this here. Y'all, we're always just sitting here, breaking these things down when we look at these numbers, Morgan. So we don't have the official numbers, but talk about ADP for folks who don't even know what that is. Explain what ADP is and what did that show to give us a sense of how horrible Donald Trump's job market is?
Yeah, so you're exactly right, Roland, because of going off of the current situation, because of the shutdown, the government hasn't been funded. That does include the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which usually produces that full set of data. That's the full non-farm payroll data that we usually talk about. Because that's not available, there are other sources of data that we can look at to get a sense of where the economy is at. One of those is ADP. So that's the company that manages a lot of payroll. And that's a subset of that overall payroll picture. And so it's not as complete. It's not as instructive as that big government data set, but it does still give us a sense of what's happening. And the ADP data from this past month shows that expectations for even a modest level of growth in the economy with jobs, it was 45,000 were expected, did not happen. So we actually saw a net loss of 32,000. So that's what the ADP data was showing us. But there's also other data sources that folks look at to get a sense of where the economy might be at besides this BLS data. So, and those also are showing like a really mixed picture. So one is this purchasing managers index, PMI. That just kind of shows in the manufacturing industry how much buying is happening. And as we've talked about before, manufacturing, that's where we're supposed to be, according to the administration, seeing a lot of growth from their policies. And that also is showing really mixed information, that there's not a lot of purchasing that's happening, probably due to the impact of the tariffs. And so not showing that sector is really experiencing a lot of growth right now. People are kind of like taking it very easy. Then we also have this other data set that just shows how much hiring is happening. Usually in September, through the summer, this would be when a lot of companies are starting to bring people back on. This is this other data set called Challenger Gray Christmas. That's also showing that there really isn't that same level of hiring, higher levels of hiring that happens in September. And then the final thing that I would point people to give us a sense of where things are at is just the consumer sentiment. So that data did come out in terms of, with the consumer price index, consumer sentiment, and it's showing that a lot of consumers are not feeling that optimistic about the economy, that they aren't feeling like they are going to be able to make a lot of purchases that because of all of this uncertainty. And so that's another sign of, again, just this cumulative effect of a lot of uncertainty in the economy. We aren't seeing a lot of private sector growth. The area that had been providing some job growth in government, that definitely is not the case right now because of the administration's policies and because of what has happened, which is, because of the shutdown, the administration using that as a pretext to do further federal layoffs, which is only going to continue to decrease the amount of growth that we see in the government job sector.
What's shameful here, Morgan, is that they spend all this time, we're just going to be winning. There's lots of winning. And they're they're lying. They're not in denial. They're lying. This idea that the tariffs are not having a negative impact is beyond stupid. And Fox Business and Fox News is trying all they can not to tell people what the hell is going on. But you now got so many farmers, Arkansas, Nebraska, Wisconsin, now whining and complaining because China's like, yeah, we're not buying your soybeans. Then Trump and the same MAGA people who are so against foreign aid, Trump bails out, Argentina, $20 billion? And then what do? They turn around, cut a deal with the Chinese. And so I saw one farmer going, what the hell? We bailed out my competitor. And I'm like, guess what? You voted for it. Hashtag, we tried to tell you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Argentina example, because one thing we hear a lot to justify some of these policies from the administration on that we've been hearing since the beginning, DOGE, these layoffs, the tax cuts that passed through that big bill that are benefiting corporations and the most wealthy is, we got to tighten things up. Government spending just got out of control under Biden administration and all of these establishment politicians, et cetera. And so to say that, not that that's true anyway, right? But to say that that's your reason that you want to really rein in the government spending and then take $20 billion and give it to a country in Argentina that is being run by someone that has no track record of successfully managing a government or an economy, it would be laughable if it weren't so tragic, because this is our money, and we have people in this country that are getting completely played, and it's not just going to impact them, it is going to impact all of us. And so where we go from here is another theme of our monthly discussions on this front. I don't know that we have a lot of clarity on that, but there is no denying that this is a complete boondoggle. This is just straight up corruption that we have seen from this administration, and it's going to continue to have really negative effects for a lot of folks throughout the country.
Now we have news that, guess what? Which we knew from last time, Republicans are preparing a welfare package for farmers that's going to be anywhere from $35 to $50 billion. We're going to talk to John Boyd a little bit later about that. But we're dealing with that too.
Yeah, and it's kind of similar to what we're seeing happen with some of these private companies. Like, for example, I don't know if you saw this week that Trump announced his Trump RX deal with Pfizer. He's very into cutting these deals and one-off deals with certain companies. And here, we're going to have a favored population that we're going to decide to cut a deal for. That is not any way to run a country, a government, and you can't sustain that. And so, and who's going to get left behind in all of this? It is going to be regular working people. So, our best effort here, or time spent, is just making sure, I think, that people understand all of these contradictions, all of the hypocrisy. And I think we're starting to see this reflected in some polling where younger people, for example, are feeling, those that maybe were a little bit open-minded about Trump are now kind of like, wait a second, what is this? This is not trying to make government better in any way.
Well, absolutely. It's laughable to see, and again, these idiots are just falling for it as they are. I was so quick trying to get to the title, y'all. Morgan, of course, the Director of Policy and Advocacy at the American Economic Liberties Project in Columbus, Ohio. Morgan, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Good to see you, Roland.
All right, then, folks, going to a break. We come back. Zohran Mamdani, he has gotten a lot of attention from folks. He's leading the polls. He won the New York City primary. Now he's trying to win the general election. We got a lot to talk about with him. We'll do so right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
We are talking about our North Star, our luminary, our guide, Assata Shakur, who recently passed away in Cuba. We're going to unpack her legacy.
I refuse to allow Assata's legacy to die before children that aren't even born. Our babies that aren't even born must know her and must know her. And that roadmap is going to get us closer to liberation.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the original T-Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, it was Diddy's day in court to find out what his fate was going to be. And, of course, you had victim impact statements. His children testified. He, of course, wrote a letter to the judge as well. And there was a lot happening today in court. Candace Kelly, legal analyst, she joins us right now. Candace was in the courtroom. She's been following this trial from the beginning. So, Candace, something crazy happened when the assistant U.S. attorney announced that Diddy had booked some speaking engagements. Blew up on social. When I looked it up, It was a reentry program that had these listed, and it was a letter they sent to the judge basically saying all these things he's going to do for people in the reentry area. That still was beyond stupid. How in the hell, we're going to get to the sentencing. How in the hell did his attorneys allow that to get in where one of the speaking engagements was literally Monday in Miami at like 6 p.m.?
You know, this was really a day of clarifications all around. That is really what this day was about. And I think that when that happened, when the let's say Christy Slavic, who prosecuting attorney, when she got into it, it seemed strange that he would have this speaking engagement, but it was clarified that, like you said, it was more of an engagement that had to do with helping and bettering the community, but still, it just didn't look good. It'd been possible that he would think that he would actually get off, and it just wasn't a good way to kind of enter into the court and say, yeah, he's got a speaking engagement, like he was going to entertain all of a sudden on Monday as soon as he got off.
Judge literally was going to say, you know what, I'm going to give you probation, Diddy, you can go ahead and go home.
Exactly. And we all knew that that is not the way that it was going to go, especially with, you had the prosecuting attorneys wanting, 11 years and 3 months. Then on the other side, you had the defense team wanting 14 months. There's just no way overall that he was going to be walking out anywhere, not with this judge being a life judge and wanting to continue to have respect from his peers. No, he was going to give him a sentence where he would not be walking out. That certainly was the expectation at the beginning, and it certainly was the expectation as court unfolded, regardless of what the defense put up. It seemed as though the judge was leaning towards a sentence where he was not going to be going home this weekend at all. And that is exactly what happened.
So Diddy's team wanted 14 months. The prosecution wanted 11 years. Walk us through how the judge arrived at 4 years, 2 months.
Well, you know, what the judge said, and as I said, it was a day of really trying to figure out, was it A or was it B? The A or B meaning, do we count the way that Sean Combs acted in that we heard in court, even though he wasn't convicted of anything having to do with abuse, for example, right? He didn't get the sex trafficking. That sex trafficking involved force or coercion. Well, that wasn't on the table because he was cleared of those particular charges. But the question became for the court, and what the judge made very, very clear is that even though he wasn't convicted of anything having to do with domestic violence or force, we can still consider, the judge and the courts can still consider what his behavior was and how he came off inside of court. And those particular actions can be considered in this sentencing phase. And no matter what the defense said, that he wasn't convicted of these crimes. Why are we considering this? He's done so much good in the community. He's an icon. He started a program behind bars where he's brought all types of people together to learn how to better themselves. All of these details just didn't matter. The fact that he was violent, which is what the defense acquiesced to, the fact that that he was convicted of prostitution and also was a drug addict, again, the defense acquiesced to that and said, yes, he was a full-fledged drug addict. All of that came into play. The judge considered it, and he certainly considered it in this sentencing. And that's how he arrived at this. Now, the defense all along was saying, even up until last week, yeah, but he actually didn't have sex with anybody involved. He really was just a voyeur. He just kind of, managed things that was going on. And the judge to that in his filing said, well, that's just like saying someone runs a brothel and they're okay because they didn't have sex with everybody that was in the rooms at the brothel. It wouldn't matter. You run a brothel, you're still in trouble. So that, he said, was a faulty argument. So that's really how the judge came to this conclusion. But I want to say this, Roland, that it was an interesting day because it was a slower day than people expected in terms of who we heard from. At one point, somebody next to me wrote, it feels like church. And it did feel like church because we heard from somebody by the name of Reverend Dr. Gary Johnson. And he talked about how, and he's from Miami, and he said that he knew Sean Combs. And he said that if you let him go, Judge, if you practice leniency, I will personally take him under my wing. I will personally, basically nurse him back. I will manage him. I will see to it that he is going to meet all of your highest expectations. And someone else came up and they talked about a program that they were part of, and they reminisced about their program and how they changed people while they were behind bars, and they felt like that Sean's journey was similar to his journey. So again, it felt a little bit like church. We heard a lot of the testimony recounted, and then as you said, we heard from the children. We heard their passionate pleas. We heard how they, his 2-year-old would be missing a father. There were a lot of tears. All of the children spoke. Of course, he's a 2-year-old, but they also spoke on behalf of the 2-year-old saying, listen, I know what it's like not to have a mother. We don't want our 2-year-old sister not having a father. They were very, very impassioned. But we also saw an 11-minute video. It was kind of like a promo video, Roland. It was, Sean out in the community over the years, talking to kids, opening up schools, running the marathon. This 11-minute video was very interesting, very out of the ordinary from the times that I've been in court, kind of promoted who he was as this person, as this icon, kind of a step to the left of what we normally see. But the judge let everything in, which is why, even though I got to the court at 6 a.m., we just got out at about 5-something. It was a long day because we heard from so many people and again, saw promotional videos and heard arguments from many, many people. What was key was that we heard from Sean Combs, though, for 10 minutes. And he spoke. He was collected. He was the last person that we heard from. Roland, I will say that it was very powerful. But I think that the judge and his assessment of him just didn't believe him. Sean, he stood up and he said, I want to personally apologize. I don't take lightly what happened. I want to apologize to my family. I want to apologize to Jane. I'm sorry for bringing her into this mess, he said. He said that disgusting video that people saw of him beating Cassie triggered a lot of people. He said, it's a burden I will forever carry. He said, it was disgusting. I'm quoting. He said, it was shameful, sick. He said, I was sick from drugs. I was out of control. I needed help. I know better. I was taught better. I mean, he went on and on. He spoke to his children specifically, told them that he was humble to his core. He said, I hate myself right now. I'm stripped down to nothing. I apologize to my children. I fell to y'all as a father. I'm sorry. You deserve better. Mom, I'm sorry. You taught me better. I mean, he turned around. He looked everybody in their eyes. He just kept emotionally saying, I am sorry, I'm sorry. He talked about how he felt his community. He said that he grew up wanting to set an example and all that he could do. That was his mission. And he, quote, got lost. A couple of times he took some deep breaths and he said, listen, Your Honor, if I'm given a chance to change people, I'm going to prove to you that I can do it. He just said he wanted a chance. He said, I know you want to make me an example, but I want to be the example of someone who can go out and really turn themselves around. He ended the day, and then the judge eventually gave his sentence, as we all know, for 50 months, and then also a $500,000 fine, and Roland 5 years probation.
Last point, he's already served how much time in jail?
What's that? He's already served, we are at 13 months.
So really, he will be serving another 3 years.
Yeah, and then you have to take off maybe, 10 months or so, simply because federal sentences, they only serve about 85% of the time.
Got it. All right, Candace, we certainly appreciate you breaking it down for us. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Roland.
All right, folks, we're going to chat about this after the Mamdani interview. We should go to a quick break, and then we'll have the New York City mayoral candidate on next.
In my book, The Power to Persist, I share 8 simple yet powerful habits, a blueprint for transforming obstacles into opportunities and pressure into purpose. Just as they fueled my rise from the South Side of Chicago to a national stage. And on the Power to Persist podcast, I bring that blueprint to life.
Hi, I'm Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, he shocked the political establishment when he won the New York City mayoral primary race a few months ago. Now, Zohran Mamdani is trying to be elected mayor in the general election. Now, incumbent mayor Eric Adams dropped out earlier this week, saying he didn't have the resources to do so. And so Mamdani is going to be running against the man who he beat in the primary, former New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo, and of course Curtis Sliwa, of course, on the Republican side as well. Zohran Mamdani joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Glad to have you here. First and foremost, let's get right to it. In the primary, I mean, you executed a strategy that obviously worked, and I've heard from a number of different people who said they were concerned that you did not target or appeal to African Americans. In talking to others, they said, well, you had several black candidates in the race, and they likely were going to be driving that particular vote. Was that your strategy that, hey, I need to figure out what my core base is, win the primary, and then I will appeal to a broader base of voters towards the general?
No, we've actually been looking to speak to African-American voters from the very beginning of our race. I think one of the major challenges was that when I started this race, I was probably about 1% in the polls. And for a lot of New Yorkers, when they heard about me, the first question was who? And so it took many, many months until I could get into my first church, which was in February. But from that point on, I was in churches pretty much every single weekend. By the end of the campaign, about 2 every Sunday. And I found that for many New Yorkers, our message of affordability, it spoke to them, especially as what we're going through right now is in many ways the reverse of the Great Migration. We have lost about 200,000 black New Yorkers in the last few decades alone. And yet what I knew that when I spoke to those same older black New Yorkers, that for them it wasn't necessarily a race between me and Andrew Cuomo, it was in fact a race between me and Mario Cuomo. Because I would hear his name again and again that, I'm voting for Mario's son, or Mario was good to me. And I don't begrudge those voters because there's a long history there. And now my job is to introduce myself and the plan that we actually have for New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs.
On a particular point, you talked about churches' older voters. When you look at the numbers, you did appeal to younger African-American voters and obviously older voters, hardcore Democratic voters, and to your point, knowing the Cuomo name. What message are you saying to them? But also, how are you reaching black voters who don't go to church? Because the reality is that infrastructure today is not the same as it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, where you can largely reach black voters through churches.
Absolutely. I think you are correct in that 2025 presents a new set of opportunities, a new set of challenges. And as you said, in the primary, we were proud to win the young black vote across New York City. It was a key part of us beating Andrew Cuomo by 13 points. And so our outreach now is not just, to black voters that will meet at a church or at a mosque or, whether it be a Seventh-day Adventist church on a Saturday morning. It's also through our canvassing operation. And what we found is that we now have closer to 75,000 volunteers that have knocked on more than 600,000 doors across this city and are having those conversations directly. And the message, in many ways, comes back to that of affordability. And Dr. King put it best, what good is having the right to sit at a lunch counter if you can't afford to buy a hamburger? And for many New Yorkers feeling that, we've grown tired of hearing how we're the greatest city in the world when so many New Yorkers can't afford to live in that same city any longer.
One of the things that really jumps out when we talk about running and how people run, and as I've been watching this, style also is important, how you communicate. And you have purposely been far more conversationalist, in many ways a much different media campaign. The late Joe Madison used to always say, God bless his soul, my friend used to always say, you got to put it where the goats can get it. And so I remember seeing a video, and you were talking about the price of some item, and you were in a food truck, and you were talking to that particular person. Walk me through that in terms of how you wanted to communicate the issues with the voters when traditionally when we talk about campaigns, it's slick commercials, highly produced, leaning on endorsements, and if you do have regular people in them, the setting is just a little bit different.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Roland. And it's too often it's the use of stock imagery and stock photos than actual New Yorkers. And from the beginning of the race, we made a decision that instead of the typical approach that politicians take of lecturing New Yorkers, we wanted to listen to New Yorkers. And so we went out and asked New Yorkers, what are the issues that you're facing? And we heard it was the cost of rent, it was the cost of childcare, groceries, public transit. And for many New Yorkers, they measure inflation in the realm of food, whether it's what they're buying at the grocery store or what they're getting from a food cart. And so the video that you're referring to is me in a halal cart, where they sell chicken and rice, talking about the fact that it's not just inflation, it's halalflation, because what used to be $8 is now $10. And it's actually city government's inefficiencies that have caused that price to rise because they've forced these vendors to have to purchase the right to vend from a third party where they're paying them sometimes even upwards of $20,000, and that cost then comes back onto New Yorkers. And so I think it's breaking past the consultant discourse of politics and actually getting to the constituent discourse of the people that we're supposed to serve.
It's been pretty laughable to me to watch CNBC and how they have been portraying that oh my God, you're going to completely destroy New York City. It's going to be maddening. How you hate rich people. How these people are going to run away, and they're going to be all running to Florida. I came across this clip that I thought was pretty funny. It was when New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft was on CNBC, and he talked about the NFL as socialism. And the reality is, you're a socialist. You've talked about that. And Joe Kernan, big-time MAGA Trump supporter, freaked out and literally was like, "Oh, hey, don't say that." And I'm sitting there going, but the NFL, it is a socialist organization in terms of how they operate. I want to play that clip, and I want to get your reaction to it.
Would I have believed in '94 when I played the highest price ever paid for any sports franchise in the world? We are now. And I never would have believed it, but, it's a credit to my partners in the NFL, and Roger Goodell has done a great job leading our NFL, and we work. It's almost a socialist system of we're partners, and together.
Don't say that. Don't say anything good is happening with social, or else he's going to get more votes down here in New York.
No. But I mean that in a way. It's the spirit of it's the most competitive business there is. How bad what people do to win.
Thing is, the NFL. How they set up, it is socialism. And it's the most profitable sports franchise in the country. Matter of fact, DeMaurice Smith was on the Breakfast Club, and he also talked about how they practice socialism. So I guess I got a kick. Here you got these billionaires, nearly all of them Republican, all of them MAGA, billionaires owning the league, the most profitable sports league in America, and they say, oh my God, Mamdani, he's a socialist, but here's one of their own saying they are too.
It's hard to wrap the mind around it, but I think, as you're saying, it speaks to the amount of fear-mongering there is. And yes, I am a democratic socialist, and a lot of New Yorkers ask me, what does that actually mean? And I always think of what Dr. King said decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And I think that's what many New Yorkers know. They know that dignity is something that should be non-negotiable. And I would be proud to be the second democratic socialist in just a generation to be the mayor of the city after David Dinkins about 30 years ago.
To that point, and we've been watching how this plays out, we've seen this before. We saw it in New York State. There was a woman named India Walton. She won the primary, upset the incumbent mayor in Buffalo, and man, they went after her, and he ran as a write-in candidate and beat her in the general election, Byron Brown, and she lost. You have been under withering attacks. You've got Bill Ackman and others who believe that you are the devil. They are throwing millions and upon millions of dollars at you. The incumbent, Eric Adams, has now dropped out to set up this sort of two-person race between you and Andrew Cuomo. What is your focus to beat back all of that, to beat back the relentless attack that is against you?
I think first it's to recognize who these forces really are that are in opposition to our campaign. Bill Ackman is taking a break from attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion and his fight to continue what black women have been facing across this country, where more than 300,000 have been pushed out of their jobs, so that he can attack this campaign. And frankly, he's spending more money than I would even tax him with my fiscal proposals. And he's doing it because he's afraid of having a mayor who isn't beholden to the same Trump MAGA movement that he helped to support back into the White House. And, we have Andrew Cuomo here who's been working with Donald Trump to try and stop our campaign. And yet I can tell you that I feel just as confident as I did a few weeks ago about this campaign, because New Yorkers are telling me that they are tired of politics as usual, and they want something different. They want an approach that puts working people at the heart of it, not a question of how do we make sure we make the most amount of donors happy.
One of the things that you discussed this week, and this is a constant thing in New York City, the gifted and talented schools. When Bill de Blasio was mayor, he tried to make some changes, and oh my God, folks lost their minds. And what you have here, and let's just be, and I'm going to say it, I don't have a problem saying it, what you have with these gifted and talented programs, you got a whole bunch of so-called liberals and progressives who want these schools to be for their special kids. And when you break down the numbers of these schools, you look at the racial makeup. Now, you're going to have the MAGA folks, the right-wing people say, here you go, talking about the racial makeup. But the reality is, when we talk about gifted and talented programs, everything is not also based upon grades. I went to magnet schools in Houston. Houston has one of the most comprehensive magnet school programs. And yes, we had a school of engineering. I went to school of communications. We had the so-called Vanguard programs for the gifted and talented. So walk me through how you are going to approach these gifted and talented schools. Your critics say, oh, you're just going to shut them down and leave it at that. Walk us through it.
So my position is that children as young as being in kindergarten should not be subject to a single assessment that would place them in different tracks. I simply believe that all of our kindergartners should be receiving quality education, and that's at the heart of our plan for an education system that right now is not delivering for far too many New Yorkers. And, if Andrew Cuomo wants to attack me on the basis of trying to separate kindergartners out, so be it. I'll let him do that, because this is something that I believe, and I've found that many New Yorkers agree that at that young of an age, there's no need for this kind of an assessment and this kind of pressure.
So one of the other issues we're talking about in New York when we talk about education are public charter schools. When you look at success charter schools, and I mean, thousands upon thousands of parents been trying to get into their particular schools. My good friend, Dr. Steve Perry, has a highly successful public charter school, Capital Preparatory Schools there in Harlem. So for you, are you looking at decreasing charter schools? Are you looking at saying, hey, if those charter schools work, you're going to support those things that work, and then we're going to try to raise up these public schools? Can they coexist? From my point of view, I've said I support anything that works. Public schools, traditional schools, charter schools, homeschool, online school, magnet, parochial. I don't care what it is. If it works, I'm down with it. So where do you stand specifically on education, dealing with charter schools and traditional public schools in order to get our kids better educated?
You know, Roland, I'm glad that you asked this question because I've been skeptical about charter schools, and that's on the record. And also, that skepticism doesn't preclude me from meeting with New Yorkers who feel differently. I was at St. Paul's Church recently in East New York, where I was speaking with the pastor there who introduced me to the principal of Imagine Me, a charter school that the church had helped to form about 15 years ago. And that's a visit that I'm currently scheduled to go and see that school so that I can better understand from the perspective of those students, of those parents, of that principal, as to what this actually means, and to always keep an open mind while being honest about my own opinions.
Well, hey, I would encourage you but doing that, to meet with Dr. Steve Perry. He's had great success. I know him well. We talk all the time. And here's someone who has taken kids who have been in traditional public schools, and they were failing, and they've gone through his charter school, and they now are succeeding. And again, that's where I come from. These things can coexist. They can actually operate together. I don't believe they have to be in opposition, but what I do believe, and I am very clear, because I have an initiative called School Choice is the Black Choice, I'm very clear. If there are charter schools that are not performing, shut them down. But if there are public schools that are not performing, then they also need to be shut down, because the people who are getting screwed are the kids. And that, to me, is an abomination that we simply cannot accept. Let's talk about economics. One of the things when David Paterson became governor of New York State, he looked at the resources, he looked at the contracts, looked at the investments, and how African Americans were being left out across the board. As mayor, how are you looking at that? Because when we talk about law firms, accounting firms, engineering firms, architecture firms, private equity firms, what we're seeing is New York City has the largest collection of black people of any city in America. New York City is 1, Atlanta is 2, Chicago is 3. And what we continue to see are black folks who are driving pension funds, but getting screwed out of VC dollars. So let's talk about your plan there to make sure African Americans are getting a return on the investment, getting a piece of that economic pie.
Absolutely, Roland, and I think in many ways you're also speaking about the MWBE program. And
no, for me, I'm speaking about black people. I don't particularly like the MWBE because it's minority in women, and the women should really be white women, because if you're a black woman, you're in a black category. So yes, the overall program is MWBE, but I'm speaking of black business. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And the reason I bring it up is that, as you've said, it is still far from successful as to what its original intent is, right? The intent of this is to ensure that we have contracts that match the same percentage and proportion as we have in our city and state's population. And right now, black women comprise less than 2% of the value of all contracts being issued by the city. That is unacceptable, frankly, because the city has an immense role in the question of generating wealth and ensuring that people can actually flourish in this city. And yet too often it's being used to double down on inequities that already exist, as opposed to ensure that equity is actually something that's being delivered across the 5 boroughs. And in looking at the different ways we can tackle this, one of the things is ensuring that there's actual enforcement of the provisions that we already have within the law, city agency to city agency. The second thing is actually going out to these businesses that have been approved to bid to ensure that they understand what a successful bid looks like. Because what I hear from a lot of these companies is that they will get rejected time and time again, and each time it doesn't feel like they're getting any closer to approval. And what we know is that the question of diversity, equity, and inclusion is not only something that Bill Ackman is attacking, it's also something that Donald Trump is attacking. I mean, the justification for the suspension of $18 billion in federal infrastructure grants just done is DEI. That's what they're saying. And it is part and parcel of an attack on black Americans across this country to try not only to rewrite the past, but also rewrite the present and the future. And it's not acceptable, and it won't be when I'm the mayor of this city.
Well, of course, they stripped $37 million from Atlanta Airport for the very same reason, and that's what they're doing there. Before I go to my panel, I got 11 minutes left with you. I want to get them with questions. But on that point right there, there's a fantastic book on Maynard Jackson. Robert Holmes. And in that particular book, Mayor Jackson talked about, he said, listen, this airport ain't getting built. He said, tumbleweeds will roll down those runways if this thing, before I allow this to be built without black participation. And one of the things that he did, and I tried to tell Illinois Governor Rob Blagojevich when he was governor, before he decided to do his unethical stuff.
He got a little busy.
Well, when we talk about how do we help, one of the things that I see is that you have a lot of black firms. They want to compete for a contract, but they literally cannot survive floating their business for 6 months because typically cities are going to pay 180-day term. So one of the things Maynard Jackson did, he called the banks in that the city was putting their money in, and he said, they're getting contracts. They're getting a city contract. You're going to provide a line of credit to them, and the banks objected. He said, city treasurer, step in, pull our money out their banks. And this is very simple. If New York City is putting New York City's money in banks, and this is not even a race thing, you can say this for anybody who gets a city contract. I think the mayor should say, if you're the mayor, to the banks, hey, if this said business is getting a city contract and you know we're going to be paying them, as a bank that's getting the city's money, you're benefiting, you should be providing lines of credit to these businesses so they can be able to grow and prosper. And if the banks reject it, I think that's where you then say, fine, we're going to take our city money, taxpayer money, out of your banks since you cannot help New York City businesses. That's a way, man, Atlanta is what it is today because Maynard Jackson used the power of the political office. His grandfather taught him the 3 B's, the ballot, the book, and the buck. He used the power of the political office to drive the economic change in Atlanta.
You know, that is fascinating. It's a story that I didn't know, and I think it's one that is worth following up on because so much of what I've heard from so many small businesses is just the same problem that you brought up, which is how to stay afloat while they wait for that reimbursement. And there are certain size businesses that can handle that kind of weight, but there's so many that are just trying to start up that cannot. And it's the same thing for nonprofits. You know, right now, by last count, the city owes around $800 million in contracts that it's already awarded but has yet to pay up on. And that throws under because they just can't afford to wait that long. And, you know, I'm looking at every single step we can take that can actually make it easier to not only start but sustain a small business. I was speaking to a barbershop owner the other day who told me that to open a barbershop, he had to fill out 24 forms, go to 7 different agencies, and attend 12 different in-person events. How is that stimulating an entrepreneurial spirit here in New York City?
Questions from my panel. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. Matt, your question for Zohran Mamdani.
Yes, Mr. Mamdani, good evening. Quick question for you. We talked on this show weeks ago about the essentially what would happen if you're elected mayor there in New York, which I anticipate you will be, and how that might reverberate out to the rest of the country. So my question to you is really twofold. One, when you get elected, what are your thoughts on what that will be representative for in terms of how New Yorkers are looking at the mayoral office and maybe larger, how Americans are looking for different people to serve them, number one. And number two, what responsibility, if any, do you anticipate you may feel when you're mayor for setting the standard there in New York, hoping that reverberates out to the rest of the country?
You know, I really appreciate this question because I think it speaks to what so many New Yorkers are looking forward to with January 1st of next year, which will be an administration that I will lead that understands its responsibility is to deliver on an affordability agenda. You know, we ran with 3 clear promises of freezing the rent for rent-stabilized tenants, making the slowest buses in the country fast and free, and delivering universal childcare. And to me, success is the implementation of that agenda. And I think that the model that we can create here is one that shows what's possible when you put working people at the heart of your politics. Because we know that if we do not diagnose and actually address the despair that so many are feeling, we leave New Yorkers and Americans at large vulnerable to being exploited by someone like Donald Trump, who runs the campaign on affordability, but then all he delivers is punishment and cruelty. And it's time for us to not only say that, yes, it is too expensive of a city, but also here's what we're going to do about it to make it an affordable city.
Michael.
All right, Zohran Mamdani, thanks for coming on today. I saw you on MSNBC recently, and you were saying of Andrew Cuomo you said that in the primary election, he said he was best positioned to fight against Donald Trump, to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump on behalf of New Yorkers. But then in the general election, you said he pivoted and said he was best positioned to work with Donald Trump. So my question for you is, the Trump administration announced that they're freezing $18 billion in infrastructure funding for New York City. Russell Vought, the ombudsman and the architect of Project 2025, announced that Wednesday on X. And then also the Energy Department, Trump's Energy Department on Wednesday announced that they were canceling $7.5 billion in awards for energy projects in states, Democratic states, including the state of New York. So how would Mayor Mamdani be able to fight against the Trump administration to get that funding for New York City and the state of New York?
You know, I was right there at the Hudson Tunnel today with Congressman Nadler, with Assemblymember Tony Simone, State Senator Brad Hoylman Siegel, and we were all standing in opposition to Donald Trump's recent decision. And as you said, this is a decision that can't be separated from Project 2025 because it was announced by the architect of that very project. And yet while we were doing that, Andrew Cuomo was nowhere to be found on this issue. And it speaks to the fact that you cannot stand up and defeat Donald Trump, his agenda, if you're unwilling to actually speak up against that same agenda. And in the primary, we shared our concerns that we couldn't trust a former governor who was funded in large part by the same billionaires that funded Donald Trump. And now in the general, we're seeing that Andrew Cuomo is actively coordinating with Donald Trump to try and stop our campaign, going so far as to be on the phone with him with the question not being how can we protect New Yorkers, but how can we stop Zohran Mamdani? And I'm here with the one goal in mind, being serving those same New Yorkers that are so often left out of those kinds of conversations.
You've been dealing with this issue of rent control. There have been folks, as African Americans, who say that it's concerning for those who are homeowners. But when we look at and I've covered housing my entire career, we've never hit 50% black home ownership in this country. So the majority of African Americans in this country are renters, not homeowners. And so how have you dealt with these folks who say that, well, because you were being criticized by Mayor Adams, that, oh, if you freeze rents, that's going to negatively impact African American homeowners. But aren't you saying that if I freeze rent, that's actually going to help those people who are losing out and some becoming homeless because they can't afford to live where they are because of rising rates?
Absolutely, Roland. You are 100% correct, which is that, you know, we're talking about a population of 2.5 million tenants who have a median household income of $60,000. And for so many, they are on a fixed income where any rent increase is one that then forces them to choose between medicine and food. It forces them to choose between being able to pay their rent and then having to take away from their other necessities. And our plan to freeze the rent will return about $7 billion into the pockets of working class tenants. And also, our plan is one part of an affordability agenda. That agenda extends to homeowners and landlords too, because we will work to decrease their insurance costs, which have doubled in recent years. You know, there's a program called Milton Street Captive, which currently is working to actually depress home insurance costs, and that's something that could be critical if the city was to invest in. There's a property tax system that's broken and disproportionately impacts so many working class homeowners across the 5 boroughs, and yet there's been no political will to actually get that done. That's going to be the core of our state legislative agenda. And finally, Rudy Giuliani created a system called the property tax lien sale, where the city would sell the debt that homeowners owed, whether it be for or property taxes. And what we found is the city is 6 times more likely to sell that debt in a black neighborhood than a white neighborhood. And in part because of that recognition, as well as the fact that this is not how you fund a city government and you're putting homeowners on a fast track to foreclosure, we're going to abolish that program to make it easier for homeowners to stay in their own homes.
2 questions left. I know our time is short. First, a lot of people have made a big deal out of the fact that House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries has not endorsed you. Do you care?
You know, I can tell you that I have appreciated the conversations that we've had, and also if it was endorsements that determined elections, then I wouldn't be sitting in front of you as the Democratic nominee, because it was the people of the city that put me here, and those are the people whose endorsements I'm looking to win just in 32 days.
Last thing here, and it's not necessarily a question, but one of the things that I found to be incredibly stupid is to watch these ignorant mainstream shows say, oh my God, if Mamdani is elected in New York, then that is going to be a yoke around the neck of Democrats across the country, which is weird because it's not like when Eric Adams was elected that somehow every Democrat had to answer to what Eric Adams is doing. Before that, Michael Bloomberg, independent or really Democrat or Republican, whatever day it was. Before that, Deakins or Koch. And I just think, just for me, and listen, I worked at CNN for 6 years. I think the fundamental problem is national media. They actually live in New York City. They think it's all about them. I don't think, and this is no disrespect to you, I don't think there's somebody, any other part of the country is going to give a shit whether you were the mayor of New York City. It's not going to impact Charlotte, Houston, Dallas, anywhere else. And so I just think that's just the dumbest thing that I constantly hear.
I appreciate that, Roland. The only thing that I would say is the only way we're going to affect those cities is by stopping this city from being so expensive that New Yorkers start moving over there. We're going to keep them here because it's going to be a city they can afford.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I've been definitely watching the campaign, wanting to get you on. If you have time to stop by once more before this election, look forward to having you back on, and good luck in this campaign.
Thank you so much, my friend. It was an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to chat about that. You know, as a matter of fact, stop the commercial. I'm just going right to it. Let me go straight. Let me kill the commercial. So, Matt, here's the thing here. And again, I paid a lot of attention to this race. The reason Mamdani is doing well is because he is running a fucking brilliant campaign. I don't care what anybody says. Listen, my parents have worked elections. My dad watched news every day. My God, they're at my house now, and he watches the local news here. I don't even watch local news. Okay, so I have had to watch the news my entire life. There are very few candidates that I have seen. So I'm 56, I'll be 57 next month. Let's just say I started paying attention when I was 7 or 8 years old. There are very few candidates that I have personally seen in the last 50 years who have run such a smart, effective, and laser-like focus as Zohran Mamdani.
Well, I can't corroborate that, not having watched too much of his campaign, but I will say that clearly what he's doing is working, because my sister lives in Queens, and I went to visit her a couple weeks ago, and her roommate are very excited about his candidacy, and a lot of younger people like them are excited about his candidacy. And I think right now, at a time where a lot of people are just desensitized with politics or otherwise feel like no politician is to be trusted, or the federal government, we've got a king in office who's, running roughshod over everybody. Clearly, for him to be making the inroads he has and to have won this primary is a testament to him doing something right. I don't know exactly what you mean, if you mean specifically that he's using social media in a certain way, or he's speaking just laser focused to those issues. But I will say the kitchen table are clearly the issues that people are worried about. I was at an event this weekend with somebody running for Texas comptroller, and all he kept talking about is that all people are talking about to him on the campaign trail is money, cost of things, affordability, in a different context than in New York. But if that's what you mean, that's exactly what you're supposed to do in this moment, because it's the topic du jour at every kitchen table and in every house, the cost of everything and how it just seems to be going up, and wages are clearly not keeping up with that. So if that's what you mean, I agree.
Here's what I mean, Michael. Again, I'm looking at the totality of this. I'm looking at how he communicates. I'm looking at taking on the questions. I'm talking about in that first debate, when they asked the question, what's the first thing you're going to do, or what's the first place you're going to visit if you're elected mayor? All of these candidates sucking up to Jewish voters in New York. I'm going to Israel. I'm going to Israel. I'm going to Israel. Mamdani goes, I'm going to visit New York City. And the reason it was a brilliant answer, because He's not running for national office. I totally understand the Jewish population in New York City and the state of Israel. I get that. But his whole deal was, I'm the mayor. He wasn't trying to be this foreign policy expert. It was a brilliant answer. The commercials, the social media, how he's engaging voters. Somebody actually sat here and hit me and they said, come on, Roland, Kamala did. No, she didn't. I'm sorry. She had 107 days, but I'm telling y'all right now, Vice President Kamala Harris did not run a campaign like Mamdani. What I'm saying is, when I'm saying brilliant, I'm talking about how you communicate to voters, but more importantly, how you communicate, Michael, to people who have checked out of the political process.
Yeah, a few things here. I've been observing his campaign from afar, and we've talked about it some here. So number one, he's down to earth. He shows up in places where a lot of the other candidates are not showing up. The video that he did dealing with the cost of halal food, I think it was, with the push carts, the food trucks there in New York City, was a stroke of genius, because what he did was he talked about their cost and how it was also related to city government, city hall, the red tape that they had to deal with.
Right. So he showed bureaucracy. Red tape, small business owner, cost of food. He hit all of that in one video.
Right. And then what he would do to bring down the cost. Okay, that was a stroke of genius. Look, I've studied marketing. Okay, that was brilliant right there. And he's not scripted, so to speak. So yes, he'll have his talking points, but he talks like a real person. He's really relatable. And a lot of people, especially younger people, Gen Z, millennials, but especially Gen Z, they want somebody who's authentic. They want somebody who's not scripted. So in hitting on affordability and, dealing with topics that people can really relate to, this is what people want. So I think it's important for other Democrats, and I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but I know who the hell is working against our best interests as Black people. I think it's important for other Democrats to study this and adapt it to their own personality, and their own skill sets. But and the other thing is, fire a lot of these goddamn consultants.
No, actually, don't even hire them. Don't even hire them.
Okay, all right.
Don't even don't fire them. Don't even hire them. I just want again. I need people to understand. This is not, oh my God, you trying to get close to Mamdani. No, I'm telling y'all, the campaign that he's running is actually what we've long talked about. How do you make this thing personal to every single person? So I'm going to show you how this here. This is dated October 23rd, 2024. So this was the opening commercial for Zohran Mamdani in New York City. And I want y'all to watch this here. I need y'all to, and we're going to break this thing down, and I want y'all to, you're going to understand, this was October. This was almost 1 year ago. And what you're going to see in this commercial has been consistent for the last year. Watch this.
New York Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal judge. Every politician says New York is the greatest city on the globe. But what good is that if no one can afford to live here? City Hall is engulfed in corruption.
Unscientific.
The cost of living is the real crisis. New Yorkers are being crushed by rent and childcare. The slowest buses in the nation are robbing us of our time and our sanity. Working people are being pushed out of the city they built. A mayor could change this, and that's why I'm running. I'll make buses fast and free.
So I can just get where I'm going.
I'll make childcare available to all New Yorkers at no cost.
I want to raise my kid in New York.
And I'll freeze the rent for every single rent-stabilized tenant.
These Eric Adams rent hikes are killing us.
Life in this city doesn't need to be this hard, but politicians like Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo want it to be this way. They care about their donors. They care about themselves. They don't care about you, the working class who keep this city running. This campaign is for every New Yorker who believes in the dignity of their neighbors. And the government's job is to actually make our lives better. We can afford to bring down the rent, have world-class public transit, and make it easier to raise a family. We can do all of that and so much more because this is New York. We can afford to dream.
All right, so let me walk you through, again, how you run and you run smart. First, did y'all see him wearing a blue suit and a red tie? Nope. First of all, Zohran Mamdani is American, he's Ugandan, okay? All right, so you saw him wearing attire that speaks to who he is. To Michael's point, Matt, the consultant class would be, don't, you can't wear that. No. We're gonna poll test what suit, so it should be a blue suit, you should wear a dark, that's how they roll. When you look at the issues, it is the issues. He has been successful because he's not trying to speak to Wall Street. The problem with so many of these national media people who make millions of dollars, okay, they're the high earners. See, they see New York City through their lens, which is from the backseat of a car service. How he's been connecting with voters are the people who ride the subway, and if you do have some money, you take taxis. And that's what I mean. If you are a candidate running for office anywhere in America, and you're running for U.S. Senate, Congress, governor, you're running for county commissioner, city council, school board, DA, judge, you and your team should be studying how he's run, because it's about how do you connect with a person. Because I keep telling people, voting is the end. I got to get you registered. Before I get you registered, I got to give you a reason to get registered and then a reason to vote. And that, Matt, I think is the difference here. And that's why with everything they've thrown at him, numbers keep going up, up, up. So while they're over there fighting and yelling and cussing and calling him a socialist and he's the devil and he's the Satan, the voters are like, yep, but I like what I'm hearing.
And I think to that point, it's a great point. To that point, I mean, the three women that were in that video were a cross-section of New York, right? Three women of different ethnicities, all speaking directly to one of his 3 points that he was going to address. And I think it's a genius idea, talking about not only kitchen table issues, but kitchen table issues that have the largest impact, that directly impact quality of life. I'm talking about, you know, you getting around every day. Anybody who's ever been to New York, a lot of the time you spend is, to your point, getting around. Are you going to Uber? Are you going to use a train? Are you going to use a bus? If you're getting on the bus every day and going to work and he's making it faster for you and making your commute easier, I mean, that's the kind of thing that is a deliverable that politicians don't often think about, but that's the kind of thing that changes, I think, lives. And I think what you're talking about is this is really a very broad-based approach. Like, I'm not talking to Wall Street. I'm talking to your average person about things that are going to make their life measurably better. And he said something in there that's funny, because I've said it basically as long as I've been involved in politics or interested in politics, is that the government should exist to make your life better, I think is what he said. And I think that's what people feel. That's the sentiment. But a lot of times people are disenfranchised with government because they feel like all they hear is squawking and they see no measurable benefit. They don't see less taxes. They don't see better services. And I think he's speaking to those issues that people feel the brunt of every day.
Okay, here's an ad that I just think is insanely brilliant. This is what it says on Twitter. New York City, I can see a future with you, and it's one we can afford. Our new ad just aired during The Golden Bachelor. Y'all, watch this.
You deserve better. You deserve to be able to raise your family here, to be safe, to travel where you need to, free of costs and worry. You deserve someone who works as hard as you do, who thinks about you, every second of the day. That's the kind of mayor I promise to be. New York, will you accept this rose?
Paid for by Zohran for NYC.
Oh, I'm telling you, a consultant will be like, you're going to run an ad as if you're dating the voter? Brilliant!
So I think that deals with, now, I don't watch The Bachelor.
No. But here's the whole deal. The Golden Bachelor is a show where I think the person hold up, because just you don't watch it. I think the person is like 55. The person is like 60 or older, and they're they're dating, and so how they pick the woman is if they hand them the rose.
Hand them the rose.
Dude,
yeah.
I'm telling you,
with it. I just don't watch it.
The political consultants, this would not fly in 99% of the races.
Right. No, I'm familiar with the show. I was saying I just don't watch it. However, he aired that during the Golden Bachelor. So the way it rolls out, right, is similar, from my understanding, of how it looks on the Golden Bachelor. Okay, so then he comes with the rose, things like this. So when you have somebody watching a particular TV show, when they see an ad that looks similar to the set and the format of the TV show, it keeps them engaged, right? So they don't even realize, hey, it's a political campaign that I'm looking at right now. But yeah, you're right. That's not something that the average consultant, especially a lot of these white consultants, would advise their candidate to go with. So he's breaking the norms, and it is resonating with people. Once again, my degree's in marketing. That is a stroke of genius, right?
And let me say this here. So Akim Smith put in our chat, buy into style, not substance. Akim, you're stupid. You literally don't know what the hell you're talking about. We have literally been talking about his campaign and substance. But what he's doing is he is combining the natural ebb and flow and the feel of communicating with the voter to say, I can communicate on this issue. So you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's just a stupid ass comment.
It's the packaging.
Well, but also the reality is you have to package your policy.
Right.
See, this is what's so stupid, why the comment is stupid. You have to package your policy proposals in a way that resonates with the average person who is not a hardcore political person. This is the last one I'm going to play. And again, when you talk about understanding where you are, understanding history, and how do you connect the dots, this to me, again, smart campaigning.
When Earl Manigault stepped onto this court at 99th and Amsterdam, the world stopped to watch. In a city where everything is contested, even the contrarians agree. No one dominated street ball like Earl did.
He dunked backwards 36 times in a row for a bet. He could take a quarter off the top of the backboard. He had the double dunk where he'd dunk it and then he'd catch it and dunk it again.
Manigault's nickname was the GOAT, but talent never made him arrogant. He was idolized as much for his kindness as his ability to dunk. That's part of why his memory lives on today. Unlike many with a gift, he never believed his hype. While the GOAT might have been on a level of his own in the 50s and 60s, his greatness faded fast after he developed a debilitating heroin addiction. He recovered, then relapsed, served time in prison, and ultimately left New York. The man who Kareem Abdul-Jabbar called the best basketball player of his size in the history of New York City never made it pro. Towards the end of his life, the GOAT came home to Harlem. Before he died in 1998, he spent his final years counseling kids, teaching them how to play and avoid his path. To many New Yorkers, he's still a giant today.
He helped take me on his wing, and he helped us move on to the next step.
I don't dunk anymore, but I still have a couple of moves left, you know.
There are countless New York stories like Manigault's. Brilliant minds, incredible athletic talents, lost to drugs or crime or alienation. It doesn't have to be this way. City government can foster supportive environments for our kids, and we can build spaces that give them opportunities to grow. As mayor, I'll increase access to sports, mentorship, after-school, and summer programs. We'll expand SYEP, or Summer Youth Employment Program, which builds confidence for young people and lowers chances of felony arrests by over 20%. And we'll tackle youth violence with safe passage and greater school-based violence prevention programs, mental health services, and school counselors. Here, at a park that many still call Goat Park, I can't help but think of something Manigault said. For every Michael Jordan, there's an Earl Manigault. We all can't make it. Someone has to fail. I was the one. With all love to the GOAT, I don't agree. This is the wealthiest city in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. It's time we all make it.
Again, smart campaigning, you take a historic, well-known figure. A consultant would say, no, we're not going to do something talking about a guy who was a drug addict. Oh, no, a guy who failed. We're not going to do that. No, he takes the story, New York City legend, and lays out in that 2-minute and 24-second video policies dealing with mentoring and other types of programming. Again, this is where I'm saying this is why he's winning. For all of these weak-ass, impotent, scared Democrats who look, oh my God, he's a socialist. Oh my God, I can't endorse a socialist. There's a reason he's winning. And I dare say he's going to kick Andrew Cuomo's ass.
Yeah, you know, that's...
Hold on, no, that's for Matt. That's for Matt. That's for Matt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, you know, the establishment candidate isn't gonna prevail when this guy's talking to the people. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And I think that this is a really important point because we don't think about it, but I think your point earlier about the blue suit and the red tie, I mean, that's like so common fare. We don't even think about the fact that some consultant is probably saying exactly what you're saying. No, you can't break the mold. You can't break the mold. And here's what it is, right? Fortune favors the bold. So if you're taking that step and you're approaching it differently, clearly something's working when you have 75,000 volunteers for your campaign. I don't know about what the numbers will ultimately look like, but I think it's especially helpful when people are already probably distrustful of the old guard, like Andrew Cuomo, who's doing the same thing they've always done to the same people, speaking to the same people, trying to get the same votes. And he's talking to a much broader base and new entrants to politics. So I think maybe you'll be right in terms of the numbers, but even if you aren't right, if he wins, it'll be a testament to breaking convention and the value that can have.
Quick break. We come back. We're going to talk about farmers with John Boyd. Here's the National Black Farmer Association. And boy, these white farmers, all the white, orange MAGAteers are aplenty. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Farquhar, executive producer of Proud Family. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
You know, as a farmer, we get up one morning and you give Argentina, which is our second biggest competition in the world. They're the largest exporters of soybean meal in the world. So I get up one morning, I turn the news on, and you give $20 billion of taxpayer money to my competition. And then the Chinese buy, I think the figure is 30 or 40 containers, ships, which is about 65,000 metric tons per ship, which is like 2.2 million bushels. So they buy 12 or 14 billion dollars worth of soybeans from the Argentinians after the tax holiday. And here's the caveat to it. They give $2.30 over the November board, while I'm getting 50 cents under the November board. So that makes the Argentinian soybeans about $12.42 a bushel. I think that's the real figure they gave. So all my premium went.
Y'all, you gotta love it. Do I need to remind y'all The last time that orange fool was in the Oval Office, do I need to remind y'all what happened? Same thing happened. This idiot comes in with his tariffs, wrecks the economy, destroys farmers. Take your pick. Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nebraska. Any place where you got farmers, they got screwed. $25 billion in taxpayer money given to farmers because of his dumbass trade policies. So what does he do? He runs on the same policies. And you know what these dumbass white farmers do? Give me my MAGA hat. I love me some Donald Trump. And here we are, 10 months later, and they're crying like some babies. Oh my God, we're losing. The same playbook. And guess what Republicans are now talking about doing? Because Trump is now freaking out. They're talking about putting together a package, and I've seen anywhere from 10 to 35 to 50 billion. Oh, I thought y'all didn't like welfare. Matter of fact, Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa did an interview. She said, my farmers, they don't like welfare, but they need help. Oh, but y'all shat on student loans. Y'all shitted all over black farmers and Latino farmers when a deal was cut, and racist-ass Stephen Miller blocked the money from going to them. Y'all shit on people who on food assistance. But now we're all supposed to sit back and go, these poor white farmers. And let me be real clear. When I say the poor white farmers, that bailout money, that ain't going no black farmer or Latino farmer. John Board is the president, National Black Farmers Association. And, it's hard for me, John, to say to hell with these red state farmers. But I'm sorry, they voted for his ass. And this happened last time. What the hell they think was going to happen again?
Well, Roland, I told him that the tariffs didn't work the first time. They didn't work the first time. And when Trump came in and imposed tariffs on China, I was selling soybeans, people, for $16.80 a bushel. The price plummeted all the way down to about $6-7 a bushel, and the market never came back. Now these are the boys who voted for him, and I was on the circus. I said, vote for Harris. Harris is the only way out of this thing. All that stuff. They voted for him probably 99%.
Yep.
They voted for this president. Now the black farmers ain't how far to fall. I want to be perfectly clear to everybody that's watching this. We've been down, everybody dumped on us. So we've been down, and we know what it feels like. We know what it looked like not to get a loan, not to get a subsidy, all these things. But them big boys, that guy you just showed, Trump got him, man. $20 billion to Argentina, man. $20 billion, and then they turn around and sell the soybeans with the money that this guy bailed their whole country out with, and left them high and dry. And Roland, guess what? The market ain't coming back because it is harvest season right now. So they having to take those trucks to the grain elevators right now. And this money that the president keeps talking about, the money's going to come out to tariffs. Ain't no money coming out to tariffs. That's a little a ploy that he's trying to do for midterm elections to keep his friends happy. We're not going to get a damn dime out of no tariff money. It's tied up in federal court, as you know, Roland. You've been following this thing. There's lawsuits and there's judges that are saying what he's doing with these tariffs, he can't even be doing in the first place. So this president got his base. He got his base and he played his base, and the base is going to turn on him. I'm here to tell you, when them white farmers start going out, them farms ain't coming back. And people, they're farming in blocks, Roland. Not the average age of the black farmer is 60, and average farm size is 50 acres. They're farming in blocks. A block is 1,000 acres, people.
Yeah,
they start losing all this land. And Roland, guess who's buying it? Guess who's buying the land? The vice president and acre trader are watching these farmers, and his real estate group is out there gobbling up farmland from the people that voted for their ass. How stupid is that?
And see, what pisses me off again with these idiots in mainstream media, when they come on, you know, what they don't do, they don't say, hey, I'm curious, so-and-so, how did you vote? Like, hold on, I'm gonna play this clip right here. This is the guy over he's in Wisconsin, soybean, watch this.
Well, right now, as farmers, you know, we are in kind of a state of emergency right now because of everything that's going on. And so we will take that money right now. We'd rather have our global markets open and be able to sell our product and, you know, make our money that way. But right now, farmers are needing some kind of assistance to keep going. We have farmers that are losing farms that have been in their families for generations.
Yeah, no, and I wonder how many of those people, John, here in Wisconsin, Trump won that state, how many of them damn farmers, but see, if they go on TV, the first question should be, hey, white farmer, who did you vote for?
Voted for him.
The man did it last time. Like, I'm trying to understand what the hell do they think was going to happen. And Vice President Kamala Harris kept saying his tariffs are going to cause prices to rise and farmers go out of business. Oh, no, she's not telling the truth. Okay.
But they're going out of business. And like I said, the whole deal with the president is they got a whole real estate arm that's going to be buying up the land, people. And Roland, last time I was on your show, I was saying to Black America, we need to be prepared to buy some land and group and start buying some of this land, because it's going to be on the sale block here real shortly. The market is not going to come back in 30 days. I'm sorry, it's not. And those guys cannot sell soybeans for $10 a bushel, because that's what the market is, Roland. $5 for wheat, $4 for corn. Guess what? I was selling grain in the early 80s, man, for just under that. And here it is, the year 2025, and this president is taking us to the lowest grain prices in history and the highest input. Nobody's talking about that. The highest input cost in history for farmers are right now under the 9 months of this president. This guy came into office in 9-10 months and caused complete havoc for white America and white rural America in this country. And guess what? We need to be in a position to go in there and start winning some of these states, to come up with a platform to steal some of these people, whether we like them or not. They're down there voting in them red states, and we need to start winning some of the red states. And guess what? The Democrats should be saying healthcare, you know what? And we coming back in rural America, we got a plan to help some farmers out here because we want them votes too.
But see, John, to be honest, here's my problem. These white, and I'm specifically saying white farmers for a reason. Because let me be real clear.
But they dogged us, as you know, bro.
Them damn white farmers wasn't standing up for y'all.
They dogged it.
Them damn white farmers, they weren't saying Stephen Miller is unfair, blocking out that $5 billion going to black and Latino farmers. No, they wasn't saying a damn thing. They were like, that's y'all Negro farmers. We don't care. But see, so my problem is they want Democrats to now bail them out.
Yes.
So they can go right back and vote for MAGA policies.
Well, let's go over the whole thing. I'm glad you raised that flag. Let's go over the whole thing. They didn't want to pay blacks to work on farms. That's the first thing. That's what got white people in trouble in this country. When they ran blacks off the farm, they wanted us to be sharecroppers and all this stuff. They didn't pay us then. They stole our land. And then what they do? Oh, we can't get blacks to come back to the South and work, so we'll go get some Hispanics, right? Let's get them here to pick some tomatoes and cotton and onions and all this stuff. Now, when they found that they weren't going to vote for them, the Republicans were at 99%, they said, oh, now we got to get all of them out the country. And now we're going to get the blacks from the inner cities who are going to come back, pick some tomatoes, and people on the disability. Roland's not working. Black people ain't coming back picking no damn tomatoes for free. They're not going to do it, man. So this stuff that this administration is saying, they're going to get some people on disability, man. That's what they're saying. Disability and blacks from the inner city. That's what this administration said, not me, to come out here and be and do the farm work. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But what I am saying is, I don't want to lose anymore, and I don't want to lose to anything that look like Donald Trump or act like Donald Trump. That's dumping on Black America from the megaphone. I mean, look how he's ridiculing the leader, the Black leader, Jeffries. Got him out here in some dunce hat or some kind of sombrero, and got him throwing a Donald Trump hat on him. Man, it irritates me to no extent that we have someone in this country that take politics and the office of presidency all the way down to humiliate a black man, a sharp black brother like that, man, with no comeback in this country. It pisses me off to no extent.
Real quick on my panel questions. Michael, you first. Go.
All right, John. So I know there were some black farmers before the 2024 election. Here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, you said some of them were going to vote for Donald Trump or thinking about voting for Donald Trump. What are they saying now?
They ain't saying nothing. They ain't saying nothing, and that's what happens when you get your behind kicked here. You run and hide. I ain't seen them on a talk show nowhere. And I told them, and Roland been on some of these emails. I mean, I stopped writing them.
Oh, you mean what's that dude named Corey?
I don't even know what his name is.
Right, because I done cussed him out several times.
Well, look, you can't. This is what's wrong with our people. Here's the perfect time in history for black people to come together and say, you know what, we ain't getting dumped on no more, and we're going to do something positive and move forward together. That's what we're going to have to do. If not, this guy in the White House is going to keep kicking out butts, man. And Roland, guess what, man? I've been watching your videos. The only someone who's saying it in a forceful and clear directive here is you, that I've seen out on the media circuit. So for those guys who voted for him, hey man, I came out on the block for Harris. I endorsed her in a very, very public way down in Atlanta, Georgia. Got up on the stage with her, and I endorsed the next black people and black farmers to vote for him. And there was some pockets of people, Roland, that was arguing with me on some of these conference calls about Donald Trump, man. And they were pissed off when I came out for publicly for Harris. And now you can see that I was doing the right thing. I've done the right thing. And guess what? They were on the wrong side of the coin. And this president is going to be on the wrong side of history. Just give him a little time. You know what? And, my grandmother would say there's a stick sitting up yonder with your name on it if you keep dogging people. And ain't nothing in the Bible that you can show me that is godly about this president, man.
Yep.
And what he's doing to poor people in this country. You're going to reap what you sow. It's going to take a little time, but he's going to get what he has coming to him.
Yeah, Corey Lee, Executive Director of the Cowtown Foundation. He real damn quiet,
Well, they don't call me, Roland. I'm out here. And guess what, man? We got an annual conference. Well, you need to come to that annual conference in Birmingham, Alabama.
When is it?
October 31st.
Crap. I wish I given a speech in Houston that day.
Well, look, man, send a video. Okay. Matter of fact, you can send that clip. You just done the introduction to on this, and I can play it, man. Because
all right. Well,
it's so relevant for the conference.
I'll make a special video for the conference. Matt, your question.
Yeah, real quick, John. You talked about J.D. Vance buying land up, and I think you said acre trigger, watching some of that land. What is the effect, if you know, that's happening with the major companies like the Cargills and the big agricultural companies? Is there a boon to them from the smaller farmers that are closing down? What's your understanding how big farming is being benefited by this, if at all?
Well, thank you for that. And I never get a chance to talk about corporate America. Corporate America has totally turned its back on the National Black Farmers Association.
Mm-hmm.
Banks, Wells Fargo, Cargill, ADM, none of those companies have reached back and picked up the farmers, the very people that made them their companies billionaires. They're now dumping on us too, and they went with Trump and they this anti-black thing, anything got something to do with black, they cut. All those companies cut us off. And matter of fact, I need to put out a report card on just how many companies.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, John, put the names together. I will read the names on the show.
Yes, and I can show you the emails. And Wells Fargo said they couldn't help us because this organization represented black farmers. That's what they said. Not me, Roland. That's what they said. It should be a shame. It should be held accountable for coming out.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Please send me the emails.
I do it. It's all coming to you. But thank you for that question, and I don't get a chance to do it on these other national circuits. Corporate America gets a damn F- for siding with Trump. And here's what they do. They label us DEI and give us names for every 10 years. Our names has changed. Socially disadvantaged farmer. Hey, board, you got to say farmers of color to advance your bill on the Hill. They change our names every 10 years. And here's what I'm going to say about this president. He don't care what they say. They're going on with their program. And when we get in office, they say, hey, boys, you got to reach across the aisle and they go over there and get some Republicans, man, to make anything happen here. This president didn't care. He's doing it by executive order. I had a $5 billion up, and Roland knows all about this. We could have done it by executive order, but they didn't want to do it that way. When we get into office, we got to move our agenda for the populations that got them in office. I'm going to say it.
And let's be real clear. You call yourself the National Black Farmers Association because you got screwed because the white farmers were getting all of the money, all of the resources, and so you were highlighting them. It ain't like the mainline Farmers Association gave a damn. They wasn't fighting for the black farmer. They were fighting for the white farmer. One of the most racist. Listen, it was a white man, a white member of Congress. Congressman David Scott told me this here. David Scott was the first African American to become chairman of the House Agricultural Committee. Yeah. I think he said when Ron Dellums was on this, I forgot, long time, he said a white member of Congress said to him, if it's one thing that ain't gonna never happen, you ain't gonna never see a black chair of this committee. People need to understand the billions of dollars coming out of USDA. Their entire focus is for white farmers to get that money, white farmers to get that loan. They ain't and listen, this ain't Democrat, this ain't Republican, this is white. This is about that, and that's why Marcia Fudge wanted to be Secretary of Agriculture, and Biden didn't make her. He should have, and he put the former governor of Iowa. Hell, wasn't that his third time being Agriculture Secretary?
Man, we didn't want Vilsack. I didn't want him.
Yeah, Tom Vilsack. So people need to understand.
On your show and talked about that.
People need to understand. USDA actually, y'all, has the largest bank in the federal government. Y'all, income. That's right. Y'all don't even understand how much money is in the USDA.
$1 million for the top 10%, and white farmers receive $1 million a year annually. And they call it, when black people get on the program, it's welfare, it's all this stuff. White farmers get $1 million per farmer, the top 10% in the U.S. Farm Subsidy Program. The average subsidy to a black farmer is $200. We're not even on the same wavelength, with our farm subsidies in this country. All this money that went out to white farmers, and they've been getting it for years. And we formed the MBFA because guess what? They was out here calling me a nigger, the man who worked there. They was out there spitting on me. They was out there seeing black farmers one day a week. They was tearing my application up and throwing it in the trash can. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want you to say anything about black. They want you to get away from it, but they want to give it all to white farmers. They want to bring white farmers in from South Africa and give them our land out of inventory. I say over my dead body, Roland. I'm telling you right now, somebody's going to have to take me out of here if they give us them white farmers from South Africa our land.
Yep.
They brought them here, gave them a path to citizenship, and now this president's talking about giving them homesteads and farms, things they've never done in this country for a black man. They brought him here because solely based on what? Race, which is white. but they don't want to do a damn thing for you, for black, and they don't want to give us our land out of the inventory, that $5 billion for debt relief. They don't want to do it. But I ain't giving up. I ain't giving up, and I ain't giving up.
Well, listen, we're going to keep highlighting this as well. This is why I created this platform, for you and others to be able to come on and to share these stories. That's critical.
Before you go, man, I know you got to go, but look, this man right here on this screen has been my outlet when I got in trouble on the Hill and I couldn't get visibility on. You put me on your television show on prime time and put me in the living rooms of Black America, and you made them call their U.S. senators, and we got that $1 billion passed in 2010. So, Roland, you've been out there, and how many years ago has that been? 2010? It was.
That was 15 years. 15
years ago, man. 15 years ago, and I took that partial win, and them same guys was beating me up. But guess what? I'm gonna keep on taking them wins. It may take me 10 years or whatever to get it. But thanks to people like you, man, who didn't give up on me and didn't give up on the black farmers in this country. So I want to say it on your show. Hey, man, a special thank you to you tonight. Thanks a lot.
Well, John, I appreciate it. Keep up the fight. We'll be right there with you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, brother.
I appreciate it. All right, then. So, y'all, that's it for us. Let me thank Matt. Let me thank Michael. Matt, who y'all losing to this weekend?
It was great being on today, Roland. You have a great weekend, brother.
No, I'm just checking. Who y'all?
All I know is we're getting a dub.
Who y'all
playing Florida this week? So.
Oh yeah, y'all gonna lose. Y'all gonna lose. Y'all.
I think we're getting that dub.
Billy Napier, he gonna handle that business. All right, so I can't wait to see some more orange tears this weekend. Michael, thanks a bunch as well. Who the Sigma's losing to? Somebody. All right, that's it for us.
No, we're not going to lose, and we always look good. But thanks for having me on.
No, that's actually
it's
actually not true. You don't always look good because whatever. All right, that's it for us. Y'all, that's it for us. Let me thank everybody being on today's show. It's some stuff we didn't get to, but hey, we had lots of guests, lots of conversation. Y'all, do y'all understand what y'all saw today? Diddy trial Candace Kelly, Congressman Steven Horsford, Memphis, Tennessee State Senator Justin Pearson, Zohran Mamdani running for mayor of New York City, John Boyd, National Black Farmers. Y'all, there is no other show in America that does this every single day. No other show. You will not see that many black guests on any mainstream cable show. Hell, they ain't gonna have that many black guests for the whole day. You ain't gonna see that many black guests in 24 hours. So this is why we do what we do. We center African Americans, we center our story, but here's the deal. What we talk about is not just for black people. So white folk can watch this show, Latino folk can watch this show, Asian American folk, Native American can watch this show. It doesn't matter. We are about speaking to the issues that touch the people, and that's why it's important. Your contributions are critically important. I've already told y'all we're trying to raise $1 million between now and December 31st because, man, we got some fantastic stuff coming down, man. But you got to fund it. So your support is critical. If you want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered and the shows on the Black Star Network, the 2 new shows we got coming on, the retooling of blackstarnetwork.com to become a news portal, please do so by contributing. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here, bottom left-hand corner. Cash App. You can also use credit cards for using the Stripe. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037 0196. Also, folks, download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Mind. Available at bookstores nationwide. Be sure to also get our Black Star Network, Roland Martin Unfiltered swag by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. Get our t-shirts, our hoodies, our wall art, mugs, and more. You can go there. Also, if you want to support the black-owned products, you see all these products to my left. You see them all right here. Get these products, y'all, by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. These are black-owned products that you see right here. And, man, it's some great stuff. So go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Our audio podcast through iHeartRadio Network. We're on all the platforms, Amazon Music, Apple, Spotify, you name it. And then, of course, also support fan base. It's going to be an investathon next week. It's a Series A raise. Series A raise. They've raised $13.2 million. The goal is $17 million. Let's close this thing out. They've made some changes to the app, improve the functionality. Man, download the app. Can you imagine if black people, can you imagine black people if we loved fan base the same way we love Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and Facebook? And guess what? We don't own none of those. And so this is why we have to be able to be willing to use, support, and finance our own. Again, anybody can use fan base, but this is also about creating black wealth. So download the app Fan Base. If you want to invest, get more information, startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. Baton Rouge, NAACP, I will see y'all tomorrow night, 6 p.m. for your Freedom Fund dinner in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I cannot wait. Monday, we're going to have a couple of candidates, Monday and Tuesday, running for mayor of New Orleans right here on the show. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all on Monday right here, blackstartnetwork.com. We close the show every Friday with more than 36,000 donors who contribute to our show since we launched. I'll see y'all on Monday. Holla!